when I was diagnosed and I was talking to my psychiatrist, he was like, did you ever do stimulants like cocaine or whatever and feel normal? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, no, it makes sense, kind of thing. And he explained about alcohol, how it kind of calms you down, right? So that nervous energy, that uncomfortable feeling that you consistently have with someone with ADHD, drinking alcohol kind of gives you that, like it slows it all down and makes you feel comfortable. And that really rang.
What a great way to explain that. I've never heard that, but when you're going down that route, I'm thinking, yeah, alcohol was great in a social situation because I could be the person I always wanted to be. Today's Sober Friends podcast is brought to you by Nesbitt, who bought us 5 copies. Nesbitt says, hey guys, I have 764 days of sobriety. That's as of June 3rd. I made it to my first in-person AA meeting yesterday, feeling like it's time to work the program, and I just wanted to say thank you. Your podcast has been and continues to be an important and grounding resource for me in my sobriety. Cheers. Oh, Nesbitt, that is fantastic. You know who else also sponsors us is Mitzi, who is a monthly contributor. Because of Nesbitt and Mitzi, we have the resources to get the show into the new girl or guy's ears so that they know recovery is possible. If you want to be like Nesbitt and Mitzi, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/soberfriendspod. And, yeah, I'll get you started. I'll introduce who you are, and then I'll start you on your story.
Okay.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Hey, it's Matt. Another episode without Steve. Steve's dealing with some stuff in his personal life. What's great about that is things are going really well in his personal life, and I'm looking forward to talking to him very, very soon. But I have something really special for you. We have talked about needing more women on the show, having a woman's voice, because, I don't know, we don't want to have just the sausage party all the time. We want to expand the pool a bit and have people who you can relate to. So Marcy R reached out to me and said, you've been looking for women. I'm a woman. I'm in recovery. I want to share who I am. And so I'm excited that I got off my duff and decided to do this. Marcy, welcome to the Sober Friends podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you here. Where would you want to start with your story? Where can we connect your path to where you are today?
I guess we can start off with I was born and raised in Canada, so I'm Canadian.
You're not our
Yeah.
first Canadian, but I believe you're our
Okay.
second.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm the youngest of 3 girls. And so I guess I'm the baby of the family. My father was an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of denial. There wasn't a lot of talking about alcohol.
Are
In
you
my
like in the
upbringing.
family with your dad?
Yeah, like apparently he was in AA for 15 years and I didn't know this.
Okay.
So I found this out by a sibling. Yeah, we don't really talk about it. And I don't talk about it to him either. So there was a lot of denial and also some codependency there with my parents.
Oh, always.
Um,
If there's a lot of
yeah,
denial there, that's going to be codependency.
for sure. Yeah. And my journey kind of started off in a 12-step group for codependency.
Mm-hmm.
And then realizing being in meetings for codependency, like 12-step meetings, that I was in the wrong meeting. I was actually an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how it started off for me. But yeah, no, it was, I'm a COVID baby, I guess you could say. I got sober in 2020.
God
So
bless
my
you,
sober,
because I know some COVID babies, and I don't know how the hell I could have done that in COVID?
For me, I really I looked at myself because I was all alone. My parents
Mm.
actually live in another province. Just to give you an idea, I've seen them twice in the past 2 decades. So there's love there, but we're not super close.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was just me and my son in a small apartment as a single mom. And I really had to look at myself. And that's basically when my alcoholism started to really kick off as well, because I could drink how I wanted to drink.
Right.
I didn't have, commitments. But the party was over, right? I didn't have any of my drinking friends coming around. So it was basically I had to look at myself and what I was doing, and the alcohol just wasn't working anymore either. Like
Mm.
it was kind of like, what am I doing? Like this is a daily thing. It's maintenance. It's not working for me. So yeah.
I think that's pretty unusual. Most people don't get to that point of I'm drinking, but what am I doing? At least for an extended period of time. Feels like you were very fortunate that you had that thought process.
Yeah, like I sought out some therapy for some relationship issues that I was having. And a few therapists kind of called me out on the phone,
Mm.
asking how much I drank, how often I drank, and that kind of made me look at myself and realize that, like, yeah, the jig is up. Like I've got a problem here. My son was also noticing things being in a small apartment together, the hiding and the sneaking and I can really relate to your story with the box of wine,
Yeah,
filling up that one glass kind of thing and thinking no one's the wiser, but yeah, like they notice. So
yeah,
yeah,
I agree. All right,
yeah.
so we're at COVID here. You have been drinking too much. It's in the family. How did you end up in a recovery group? What did that look like in 2020? Because around here, it's a lot of Zoom stuff, or it was
It
people
was
sitting outside in parking lots.
it was a lot of Zoom, but that worked out for me because I honestly I don't think I would have went to meetings because I had
Hmm.
my son with me. I didn't have any babysitters or anything like that. I didn't have any family around to watch him. So Zoom was really fortunate for me. I ended up getting a sponsor early on, and we're best friends to this day. And I had no idea who she was. I literally just emailed and reached out to a group saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a sponsor." And it was like we met up on an online date or something. We had no idea who each other. Like we just met up, and it was ironic because our sober date was one day apart from each other as well. So it
Like
was
sober,
not the actual year, the date. So yeah,
not the year. Okay,
yeah.
interesting. Same province, same town, or is there a distance between you and your sponsor?
Um, Not the same town because I did the classic. I'm not going to go to meetings in my hometown because I
Yeah.
don't want people to see me. So, yeah, and she actually introduced me to my now husband, actually in AA. He had a few years, and I did the classic. I waited a year
Hmm.
to date, under her, advice. You really got to wait. And because relationships were a big trigger of mine and a big issue with my drinking. Um, it was going through my fourth and fifth with her, seeing that correlation with, you know, not picking the right partners, not making the right choices, poor boundaries, things like that. So there was a big concern of like, I really want you to stay single for
Hmm.
a while and learn how to love yourself because I'm seeing there's a lot of there was trauma there. There was with my son's father and I. There was some abuse going
Yeah.
on, and yeah, after I left my son's father, I my drinking really kicked off. Really, really kicked off, and I found that it was a way for me to kind of relax and get my mind off of everything going on, like with the courts and him. And um, yeah, like I remember that ease and comfort and that company that it gave me when I felt so alone, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I think even the best of us, if we don't have a problem, if you're going through a relationship with somebody where there's trauma and there's abuse, and you don't have a really balanced mind. I don't know if anybody really has a balanced mind, but if you've got it all together, that's going to be tough. If there's something that's missing, it's going to be very difficult to avoid drugs or alcohol in that situation. You get thrown into a trap there. I will say, as somebody who grew up like your son, I grew up like your son. I had a father who was abusive. You did get out of there, regardless of whether you're drinking or not. You got out of there, and that takes a lot of strength. I hope that you and your sponsor have at least talked about that. Of, hey, this is one of the things you got to pat yourself on the back, regardless of what went wrong. You found a way out, and a lot of people don't.
That's very true. That's very, very true. I didn't want my son to turn into his father. That was the
Mm,
big thing. I remember someone saying to me, like, do you want the both of them abusing you? Like, because that's basically what's going to happen, right? So I knew what I had to do. I don't know if it was odd or if it was God, but there was an event that happened that he ended up actually getting arrested.
mm-hmm.
And that gave me that distance and time away from him to realize that this person's extremely toxic for me and I need to get out. But like I said, it was just kind of the drinking kicked off because I didn't have that control over me. I didn't have someone kind of, that codependency wasn't
Yes.
happening. And then, yeah, I just started that ease and comfort and kind of, I can do what I want. And it kicked off from there. And I went from relationship to relationship, and being on those dating apps were terrible. They were awful. Yeah, mix that with alcohol, it was bad. And then realizing that I have that addictive personality with ADHD, and
Yes.
addiction is so major with that.
What do you want to
um
share about ADHD? Because we talked a little bit about that ahead of time. I think there's like so much there with people with ADHD and the addiction. For me, it's just I need the constant input, that I need to be stimulated in some way all the time, which be it relationships, uh, sex,
yep.
drugs, alcohol.
Yep.
That's an input to keep me from getting bored.
Shopping.
Yes.
Games on my phone. I play
Yeah.
this like slot game on my phone, getting my dopamine hits. I wasn't diagnosed until later on in life, until I was about 39, and it was realizing because my son actually was diagnosed, and I
Mm-hmm.
was looking at his paperwork and going like, holy cow, this is me.
Yeah.
I've always had anxiety and depression. um, I was put on medication at a young age for anxiety and depression. But the ADHD piece, like it explained a lot of
Yes.
the addictive traits. Like, and I was very addicted to relationships too. That instant high that I got off of the first, few months of being with a person, and then it was almost like I'd self-sabotage. Like I would find all these issues with them or start fights with them, or something would happen, or that I would just get literally like bored. um and then I would move on to a different relationship, and then another one, and then another one, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like, I was never really happy or stimulated. And now it makes like a whole lot of sense,
Yep.
um as to why I was doing what I was doing, and the poor choices. Like, just my son's father and I knew each other for 4 months, and then I got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was one of those classic ones where it was, I thought that, you know, having a baby and settling down was going to get me straight and sober, and I was going to have this normal life and run off into the sunset. But it didn't turn out that way at all because I didn't really know who he was, right?
Right.
And I impulsively just got into this situation with someone that was extremely toxic for me. Um, but thank God I'm much better now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I have a really good partner. I am blessed for that. But having kids is an additional stress. And it's a stress that never goes away. It's like you turn on the switch with that stress and it just stays there and you learn to manage it. With me, I have 3. So it felt like an addition onto the house, not reinventing it. But yeah, kids are like the most stressful thing you could ever do. It's just about managing it. There's so many rewards with it, but it's not going to de-stress the situation.
No, no. I was thinking that, this was going to fix things, and
Yeah.
maybe I wasn't going to be so bored all the time. And but it was like a different, I've had great memories and still do with my son, and we
Hmm.
have a lot of fun together and everything like that. But there was a lot of things that I just didn't really know what I was doing either,
Yeah.
right? As a parent, and especially as a single parent, like
Hmm.
no idea. And then having a child that has learning disabilities and
Yep.
the ADHD piece, and having IEPs in the school system and constant phone calls and emails
Yep.
from the school. And I can relate to him so much because he cannot stand school. He doesn't like it. And it was a different time, but for me, deep down, I didn't like school, but I didn't want anyone to know because then I would have looked stupid, or I would have looked, like, what do you mean you don't like school? What do you mean you find it challenging? So I did a lot of that masking
Hmm.
growing up, and I was very shy, quiet, lots of daydreaming. Um, I have the different type of ADHD, which is like what is it called? I forget what it's called. I'm not sure if you know, Matt.
I think you have pretty much the same type I have and the same type my middle daughter has. The best way to describe it is you pull inward, like that whole daydreaming aspect, being shy, like your world becomes what's inside of you. And it's tough to burst that. That's how I would describe it. I don't know the technical term, but it sounds
Yeah,
very similar.
I wasn't the hyper kid that was like
Yes.
running around knocking things over, and like my son's a bit of that. He has the combo.
Yes.
I was more internalized, and drugs were a little bit a part of my story in the early days when I was younger. And it was funny when I was diagnosed and I was talking to my psychiatrist. He was like, "Did you ever do stimulants like cocaine or whatever and feel normal?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh yeah, no, it makes sense," kind of thing. And he explained about alcohol, how it kind of calms you down, right? So that nervous energy, that uncomfortable feeling that you consistently have with someone with ADHD,
Yes.
um, drinking alcohol kind of gives you that, like it slows it all down and makes you feel comfortable. And
Oh,
that really rang.
what a great way to explain that. I've never heard that, but when you're going down that route, I'm thinking, yeah, alcohol was great in a social situation because I could be the person I always wanted to be, but I couldn't put my finger on it that it gave me the time to think and just talk to people as opposed to being stuck in my head around
Yeah,
I'm paralyzed because I don't know what to say.
yeah,
And I didn't, and
definitely.
what kept me drinking was, well, how the hell am I going to quit drinking if I'm not functional in social situations without it? Like my life will be over.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like I took a crack at sales,
Mm-hmm.
and I am not a salesperson at all. But I found when I was drinking, I was an amazing salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I would go to the outings and things like that, like I would kill it. Like I was just so on. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I just need to keep drinking when I'm in these situations. Kind of, this
Yes.
is my medicine
Yes.
kind of thing. And yeah, it gave me that confidence and that, like I was able to find my words and be funny, and I wasn't so in my thoughts and in my head and
Mm-hmm.
insecure. And, I was very laid back when I was drinking. And so I was terrified to quit because I was like, okay, well, like, I don't even know myself, right? Like,
Yep.
yeah, so it's, it's different trying to get to know yourself and being sober, right? Like I felt so exposed, like out to the world kind of thing. Like, well, what do I do now? And I hear that people say that in the rooms, that like, oh, you're just a baby or whatever. You're just learning how to be
Mm-hmm.
yourself and get to know yourself. And that really rang truth as well. Like I was like, holy cow, like I have no idea who I am because I've
I
just been masking.
I would not be. I'm not against other people finding other recovery situations. However, you get sober is good with me. For me, it was 12 steps. One of the benefits of 12-step groups is you can be around other people who have had this unique situation. And you don't sound stupid asking somebody who has been sober for a while, hey, I got a dumb question. I don't know how to socialize with people
Yeah.
when I'm sober. What do I do? And you've got somebody who'll pull you aside and say, this is a great question. I'm going to help you with it. This is what we do. Matter of fact, a bunch of us are going out. We're going to do something sober like shooting billiards. Come with us. And you're going to see that you can have fun. To me, Marcy, when you said that you were confident and you were funny and you found your words when you were drinking and could sell, to me, that's who you really are. And you have that even sober. It's just, how do you break through the wall of getting there? It's not like, oh, I'm this. No, you are that person. There's just a barrier. We got to break through the barrier, which prevents you from needing the drink, because you can get there soberly. And to me, it's like fourth and fifth step gets you there.
Yeah, I remember my husband saying, like, early recovery days in the rooms, saying, like, what do you guys do for fun? Like, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to have fun.
Yeah.
Like, well, what do you guys do kind of thing? Because he was telling me, like, I was like terrified, just so scared of
Yeah.
going out there and talking to people. And because you're literally relearning how to do all this, like that social lubricant isn't there anymore. And um, I would say learning about myself, though, I would say I'm a little bit more of an introvert kind of
Yeah, me
thing.
too.
I've learned that. Yeah. I thought I was extroverted, but boy, am I introverted in a lot of ways. That like I don't like lots of attention. Um, I don't like surprises either.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, yeah. Do not like surprises. I need to be mentally prepared for this. So yeah, like I agree with you. Like AA is not the be all end all. It was just a lifesaver for me personally because
Yeah.
I had no one. I didn't have a family. I didn't. All my friends were drinking friends. I literally had no one. So meeting this community of people that could love me before I could love myself was amazing because, like I said, like my family didn't really, there's a lot of denial there. We still don't really talk about it. So it was so nice to have a community of people that understood me and I understood them. That was another thing. Like my first AA meeting, it was like music to my ears because these
Mm-hmm.
people were like all telling my story. I was like, holy crap, there's other people like this out there.
Yes.
Like, what the hell? I only thought felt like this and thought like this. And and I also got that feeling of when you're drinking with friends and you have the I love you man and
Yeah.
that bonding, you
Yeah.
get that in the rooms as well.
Yes.
So that was really cool for me. Like I was like, holy cow, like this is awesome. But yeah, my sponsor introduced me to my now husband, and he was one of the first people I had met. And I always remember he was just, I connected with him a lot because our personalities were very similar,
Hmm.
um, as well as he was really funny with his shares and things like that. And yeah, like we were in this vulnerable space together. So I was able to really get to know this person on a deeper level in that way. So I would say that that was definitely a benefit.
Yeah. I think it's such a benefit to have, even if they're brand new people, that you have this crew you came in with, and then all the older people who can just say, yes, it sounds silly to you, but these defects you have, we've all had them. Here's how we conquered them. If you do what we did, you'll conquer them too, and give it time. It's also just not, this is what's hard for the ADHD mind. The AA program doesn't work on an ADHD brain time frame. It's long.
No,
It's not
I
instant
remember.
gratification.
It's so funny that you say that because I remember I bugging my sponsor saying I want to work on my fourth, like way ahead of time. I was like,
Yeah.
I want to get this going. I want to be relieved of the wreckage and everything like that. I want to do this now. And she's like, it's steps, Marcy. Like, slow
Yes.
down, kind of thing. Like this isn't going to, all get fixed overnight. It's going to, it does get better, but she's like, it's going to take years for you
Hmm.
to recover, right? So that's funny that you say that because I remember just being so aggressive. Like I want to get going on this now, not realizing that she's got her own life and her other
Yes.
sponsees and meetings and recovery to deal with. I'm like, I remember just being so self-centered and being like, no, it's me. Like you've got to, take care of me right now, kind of thing. So that's funny when you say that.
I had the same thing. It was I had to check the box to get through this as quick as possible to get to the place that the old timers were with. And I never considered the pressure I was putting on my sponsor as being self-centered, but it was. This is something that a sponsor has a job, has a life, has a family. This is extracurricular activity. It's crucial to stay sober. Sponsoring other people is helpful, but it's extracurricular activity. You can make time as much as you can, and it doesn't help the sponsee to rush through it. You're working steps. You cannot get to that fourth step unless you have practiced the things in step three. It's not, okay, I said my prayer, I'm done. No, it's, you've done that. What else are you doing to reinforce it? And when you're good there, then we can start for. It's not like, okay, we're going to rush, give me the paper. No, sit and think with the paper, write some stuff down, show me the paper. I'll help you proofread, go back. And I wanted to be done. That was too slow
Yeah,
for me.
yeah. I remember going through the book with her as well, and I didn't like reading out loud.
Mm.
I was very shy and I didn't like reading out loud. And I remember jumping from different words, not knowing certain words, how to pronounce them, and feeling very nervous and insecure about it. And now when I look back, I laugh because I'm like, why was I so scared? I was terrified. Like,
Hmm.
and I was so scared and I try and avoid things like, okay, I'll pass, you read, kind of thing. And she, no, 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 like it's your turn now. You read, kind of thing. And I'm grateful for that though, because it gave me that confidence now to, chair a meeting, speak in public, be comfortable with being vulnerable as well. So AA gave me so much of that. And even
Hmm.
in the workplace, right? Like, I don't love getting up in front of people and talking, but I remind myself we do this all the time in meetings. So why can't you do this here? Kind of thing. So yeah, it's given me that for sure. But yeah, I remember just wanting to rush through things. And for me, making the amends though, I wanted to slow it right down. That was a
It's
difficult step
uncomfortable.
for me. Oh, yeah. I was like a dog that crapped on the carpet. I did not want to like face people. I didn't want to, get in these awkward conversations because again, like my upbringing, like we didn't talk about these things,
Yep.
right? So, it was and I even made an amends to my son's father, which was an interesting one, right? Because my family actually didn't want me to do that. They said, that's a terrible idea. We don't think you should be apologizing for anything. And I'm like, well, I was dropping his son off hammered, drunk
Hmm.
driving, so I think he deserves an apology for that.
Absolutely.
For what you know, um, my poor choices and the types of environments that I brought our son into. And it actually, that amends went very well, very well. He said that it took a lot for me to own up to that. And
Yeah.
he was like, wow, that's to admit that. He's like, holy cow, Mercy, like you need to pat yourself on the back there. He's like, that's huge. And surprisingly enough, he supports my recovery a lot.
That's
He says
great.
to my son, yeah, he's like, that's amazing that she's sober and that she's still working on her sobriety. So yeah,
That is so helpful. For you listening, don't think about the amends as a zero sum of, well, what about what they did? Like 90% of what happened in the relationship, they were a bad person. So I have nothing to give amends about because of that. Here's where the amends comes in, even with somebody like that. Marcy, it has bothered you over the years that you dropped off your son hammered. That's enough. It doesn't matter who he is or what he did. If it is eating away at you, get it off your chest and do an amends. Even
oh
if
yeah, I was definitely
99% of the relationship was that person, you did one thing and you feel bad, then clean it up. That's
yeah
the way to look at
yeah.
it.
And there were some things as well like that. I
Hmm.
got confused about my part in things. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I didn't really have a part in that, right? Abuse or whatever. But then I kind of was taught to look at it differently in the sense of, well, what were the things that you did in turn after that to yourself and to make that
Yes.
amends to yourself, kind of thing?
Hmm.
Because you didn't have a part in that, but what did you do in order to, like, I didn't have the tools
No.
to make myself feel better, but I still made some very poor choices, and I had to make that amends to myself and what I did. So
Yeah. We alcoholics can be very black and white. And so you look at like amends and stuff like that of black and white, but it's more of after the fact. If I was abused and I drank to compensate for that and it branches out in other behaviors, let's look at that there. What happened and what did I not do to take care of myself so I could be healthy because of the abuse and feel that out? It's not a one thing of like, let's go down that path and just feel out what those things were. What did you do? What happened after the fact? It's gray. It's not like, well, I had a part in being abused. It's not that. I'm hearing you that it's what did I do to compensate afterwards in an unhealthy way that led to X, Y, and Z. And those are the things to clean up and understand. Yeah, I
absolutely,
think
yeah.
there. I'm glad you brought up the ADHD stuff. I think there's a lot out there, a lot of people out there who suffer from this. Um, the introversion is something I can totally relate to because that's what I have. I am good in public, like public speaking. For whatever reason, I can disassociate myself there in front of a big group of people because I know I can be this I don't know. That's a drug for me of being in front of people and seeing the reaction from them. But then if a couple people come up and say, that presentation you gave was amazing, I shrink. I'm like, no, I can't. You can't say that to me. We have broken the line there between you are in the group and now you are one-on-one with me. I don't know what to do. I actually was in a kind of ask me anything yesterday with a senior vice president at my company that he does these like super skip levels of people of just like, it's a question to kind of ask me what's going on in the business or whatever. And he's a very introverted guy, which I didn't realize. But I asked him about this because I've also been told in leadership that there's no room in leadership for introverts. which is also wrong, because nothing would get done if they were just extroverts. You'd talk about the problem and never get anything done. But he gave me, and this is like almost AA type stuff. I'm like, you're senior vice president. You're talking about introversion to a level that I'm at. What do you do? Because you said you're really uncomfortable with people. And he said, almost like a development plan for introverts. And this is like perfect for introverted alcoholics. Get a little notepad out. And if you're going to go to like a soccer game where there are other parents around, I'm going to talk to 3 people. I'm going to ask them about their job. I'm going to ask them how many kids they have. Like the super silly stuff that you feel like you should do. Is like, I write that down and then I go and I check the boxes on all of those things. And it forces me to meet with people because I wouldn't. And I'm like, that must for an extrovert must sound insane that you would have to do that. But for an introvert, it's like, all right, I'm in control. I love it. I can speak that way and I can do that. And
to me, that sounds terrifying. That sounds terrifying.
Yes. But you gotta, if it sounds terrifying, but at least gives you a plan of, I'm not going into the terror without a plan. It's terrifying, but I have a way through it. And for me, that's better. But also if you're terrified, that's the thing you should do. If you're going to grow. And I spend a lot of my time in terror because I want to grow. But that spoke to me as like, at least I have a plan through the terror.
It's definitely, you'll definitely grow from it for sure. And I found that even still, like in, when I would go to these single nights for dating or whatever, it was like we would have these cards and have to do something similar to that. And I found like even in job interviews, I always did very well because I would be prepared. I'd have those notes and those little cue cards and stuff like that, and I would do very well. But if it was one of those situations where it was like, all right, Marcy, just go up kind of thing, then I would do the freeze. Or if I had a one-on-one conversation with someone, it would go fine and go very well. But then if 2 or 3 people would join in and I would feel the eyes on me and then all of a sudden I'd get into my head and be like, oh, stupid, oh, blah, 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 kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I totally hear that. And you're not alone with this. There's lots of other people. And I see where it leads to drunkenness. Is there one thing you'd give somebody who's sober curious about what has been like the best thing about getting sober that makes it worth it?
I get to truly be myself. So I don't have different personas where I was work Marcy, where I was, mom, Marcy the mother, party Marcy. I'm just myself. And I truly have seen the benefits of just being myself because I have real relationships and friendships with people, even in the workplace. People actually really like me. And I'm surprised. Like for my wedding, they had this little surprise party for me at work. This would have never, ever, ever happened in active addiction. Never. So that's one of the biggest joys is that, getting to know myself and people getting to know the real me and who I am and loving myself. That's been the real joy. For sure.
Well, Marcy, this has been awesome. Marcy L has been my guest. You wanted a female perspective. You got one. I'm not surprised other people like you. I think you've got a great personality and you're very warm. It's just you don't realize it in the time. And I hope that you've been able to look at somebody like Marcy and see like that one thing you can identify with that might get you over the hump. Marcy, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And I'll see everybody next week. Bye, everybody.